haunting of the old Pasadena. I've heard so many stories about old Pasadena being
Yeah.
haunted, but why did you decide to have an event there, and why explore this?
Listen, Jesus, where to begin? Geez. Well, first and foremost, we have a business in this location in the
Mhm.
place where we're doing the tour, and it's 20 North Raymond in Old Town, Pasadena. And it's an underground basement of an old bank. This actually was the First National Bank of Pasadena, this particular building, and then it turned into the Union Bank bought it later on. We're talking early 1900s. So this building had a long history, and it's pretty dark history, I would say. Since we've taken over the basement portion of this building, they're basically there's still remnants of the old vaults that were still there. So everything was pretty much left as it was back in the early 1900s. And when we took over the place, we've heard some stories that, there's some, if you believe in the haunts and you believe in ghosts and whatnot, there have been some interesting events that happened in this particular basement. And, I was kind of a mixed believer, I should say. I'm believing in energy sources, etc., but not necessarily somebody with a boo ghosty kind of um, a thing. So when we took over back in 2015, we've experienced a couple of different things. Things that you can't really explain, and they're a little weird and kind of spooky, but not necessarily dark and scary enough to stop what you're doing and get the heck out of Dodge. And so I'm talking me and my business partner and my employees who are running this escape room that we're running in this particular place. And we've been telling each other like, wow, this is just strange, and when people come in, guests who are playing our escape game, they are kind of asking questions also, like there's just some strange energies here. Oh my goodness, this looks super spooky. And sometimes we give them the stories of what we've experienced. The management company had given us some interesting history of the building and also some stories of their own. So, when we put it all together, it's a pretty scary and, as I mentioned, dark phenomenons that have occurred in this particular place. So a couple of months ago, we've been reached by a medium. Her name is Kelsey Davies, and she said, "Look, this is going to sound strange, but I'm a medium, and I have these special skills." And I had a dream about this little girl who reached out to me in a dream, or who connected with me and said, "Look, you gotta come and find me. I'm in this particular location." She had no idea who we were. She had no idea this building actually existed. So she looked us up, and what do you know? We have a business, an escape room that's running in this particular place. She said, "Can I just come down and maybe get some readings in your location?" And we said, "Sure, yeah, why not?" And I was there when she was doing her reading and trying to connect with some of the entities, and she made connection. She had very interesting experience as well. And as she'd gone through the space, because it's about 4,000 square foot basement, it's quite large. I was giving her all the stories of what we've encountered and some of the history of the building as well. And she said, "This is fascinating. Oh my God, I had no idea that this existed here in my city," because she's also in Pasadena. And that just sparked an idea. I said, "Well, we've been telling these stories for a long time, to people that had interest and people who believed in the haunts and the ghosts and whatnot." And I thought, what better way to tell a story than to have somebody come in and experience it themselves. So we put together this immersive ghost tour with a seance afterwards, and thought these are true stories that have happened not only to us, but also in history of this building. And so, I'm a creative writer, so I put it in a storytelling immersive way. So it's kind of an interesting way of taking a tour, experiencing it yourself in fun, immersive way. And then what do you know? At the end, if you're interested in staying for a seance, you can connect with these people, these spirits, and ask questions yourself. So it's kind of gave you the long version, but
Mhm.
that's where it all started.
That is so awesome. I'm big into all this, so I do enjoy going to stuff like this. But I also know people who think like, why would you put yourself through that? Like spirits gravitate
Right.
towards people like that. Do you ever get that? Do you have people sign waivers? Or how does that work?
So yes, so for the escape room itself, we do have people sign waivers just because of the escape room,
Mhm,
the nature of the game. And for this particular tour, for the seance part, we will have a waiver sign just so that people are aware of, what you're about to experience. And if it's, there are some cautions and whatnot. And this is, of course, coming from Kelsey, the medium who's going to be conducting the seance, because she wants to make sure that everybody's safe and it's not going to be dark. We're not going to,
mhm.
connect with or try to connect with dark entities, but this is more of a curious kind of natured seance. So we have some questions for the little girl Sarah, who's been haunting this place for a long time. And so uh, it's I mean, seances are they're a toss up. You might, connect with the entity you want, and there might be others that want to come through. So again, if it's a positive spirit or positive entity, then Kelsey's going to make her do her best to, connect with them and answer some of our questions. And we have tons of questions.
I bet. The escape room part of it, or escape game. How much time and effort did you personally put into like getting this up and ready? Because it seems like an amazing experience.
Thanks. Well, I live in Pasadena and I knew that this building existed. I also knew that the basement portion was empty for a while, and I thought this has got to be a great, great place to put up an escape room. And it's also a perfect location. It's in the middle of Old Town, so there's plenty of entertainment and things to do there. And I just gave it a shot. I had a post-apocalyptic story, and I thought, the story is based on underground bunkers, which is essentially our business. It's called the Bunker Experience. And I thought, why don't I check out this place and see if it fits? And to be honest, I couldn't have written it better. It's as if somebody had just picked up and left, from pretty much any era in the 1900s. The bank vault doors that are still there, or the bank vaults actually, are, we have records on the back of the door dating back 1896. So they are, and they're original, of course, since the building was constructed for the bank initially. And I thought you can't build this set at all. And so we just took over, added some elements of the post-apocalyptic story, and it's pretty much it. It took a while. I gotta be honest. I've had this story for a long time, and I actually can put this in a completely different format. But I'm a gamer myself, and when I started playing escape games online, then I thought, well, this would be actually a great escape game story. And so my business partner and I, we were both coming from entertainment, we thought let's just do it. Let's just find the perfect location, which we ended up getting, and let's put up this story in an escape game format. And so that was back in 2015, and ever since then, we've opened up three rooms in this space. And to be honest, it's spooky already. So when people are like, "This is scary," I'm like, look, it's the game itself is, an escape game gives you a sense of urgency, but the place itself is a little creepy. So when you're in an escape game mode and in the space that we are occupying, it gives you a little bit of an adrenaline dump. I tell you that. So I'd love to have you come down and take a look and experience it yourself. But people who are sensitive to energies and sources of energies, or in places anyway, I think you can pick up quite a few things in this place.
That's incredible. And when the medium babies came in and talked to you, how did you feel? What reaction did you have right off the bat?
I had a mixed bag of emotions, because first it's you know, it's very interesting. You know, she's giving you all this information and you're like, wow, this is amazing. I've never really had experiences with mediums before. I've never done a reading or anything. Um, yeah, so it was interesting. And also on the other end of things, I thought, oh, this is kind of creepy and scary because I have to come here and work yeah, on a regular basis in this place. And sometimes I'm by myself for a couple hours at a time. And it's so, you know, I try to just shut that part out and focus on what I'm doing there because if you let yourself kind of start thinking, it's gonna give you cheese. And so when she was there, and she's a very bubbly, positive person, so she doesn't give you that vibe of run, yeah.
Mhm.
But it was. I mean, when she connected with the spirits, and she was giving me all this information that they were giving her, there's no way she would have known some of it, you know. And so that made me think, huh, this there might be something to this, you know. And then obviously she's, you know, certainly connecting with something. And then she brought in her devices, and her devices were going off when she was asking specific questions. And so it made me, you know, it made me quite curious as to, wow, what do we have down here? And of course, I asked her first thing, you know, are these entities that you're connecting with, are they happy that we're here? Because if they're not, this is gonna really make me think twice of, wow, what did I sign myself up for here, you know? But they, from what she had gathered, it's a positive energy. So curious from their end too.
From the stuff that she's told you, have you done any research to see how much of it like you could find out and fact check?
Good question. So since we've occupied this building, I've had a huge curiosity of, wow, what's the story with this building? Because obviously it's the oldest building in Pasadena. Pasadena is a pretty old city in California, or in the LA vicinity anyway. And so I thought, you know, why don't I just start digging? And from what management had also given me some of the information of the building, I thought, let's see what we can find out. And I found out quite a few things online. Of course, the city's historical department is very, not secretive, but they don't necessarily want to share too much information either. I don't really want to read into that too much as far as like, are they keeping some secrets away? But what I found out was that this particular building dates back actually even further than the late 1800s. The basement portion anyway was part of underground tunnel system that the city had from back in the Spanish colonial times. So, and there was a Spanish mission that was on the premises of this location. And the Spanish mission was abandoned for a while, and then of course it was demolished afterwards, but only above ground. So anything that was underground was still there. And from what I gathered, is that there are some catacombs that are in this particular location. Now, the basement we're occupying, of course, there's no catacombs there because it's been made into a bank vault. However, there are some signs that there was an underground tunnel system that went through this space, and the tunnel system was used for various things throughout history. We are talking also back in prohibition, so people were using the tunnel system to, get liquor. And you can see in one particular area of our basement, there is it looks like a door opening, and then somebody just kind of Mickey Mouse bricked it up, so it looks very, conspicuous. And that was one of the openings to, the tunnel system that also leads you into the catacombs. So, and from what I've researched, again, these catacombs were opened up during the construction of underground pipes for the city. There were also some accidents that had happened that opened up these catacombs during the 100 and something years of the city. And so, there's quite a few evidence that there is something there. Now, of course, I haven't seen it personally. Would I want to? Probably not. But I would want to know, how far, what are we talking? And that I would be curious to see if the city would, want to even conduct any kind of historical digging in this area. But as far as the documents that I found, there's some various sources that kind of, lead up to the same conclusion that there are underground tunnel systems under the city, And the catacombs are pretty much right where our building or our basement is, but on the other side of the wall that we're occupying. And I tell you, it's a very, very interesting history of this particular place. Not only the catacombs and then the mission part of it, but throughout the history of the bank. There were some bank robberies that have gone really wrong. There's some people missing throughout construction of the bank. There's this little girl that I mentioned earlier, Sarah. She was the daughter of a bank employee, of the bank president actually, and she died in the basement. So these are some of the things that you can find online. And basically, what we ended up doing is put together a nice little story that gives you bits and pieces of the history of the building, and focuses, of course, on the ghost entities themselves who made themselves present throughout our time.
And it seems like you've done your research. You sound like such an amazing person. Thank you very much for your time. I will definitely hit you up and see if we can set something up for visiting.
Absolutely. Come anytime. We'll talk. You'll experience it yourself, so that way you can kind of figure out, wow, this is as spooky as we had mentioned.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've done so many escape rooms. This definitely sounds like it has a new element to it, so I'm very much looking forward to that.
Oh, good. Yeah, let us know. And thank you so much for the interview. Thanks for the opportunity to talk about it.
No problem. You sound awesome. You like this whole experience sounds super cool.
Thanks, Jesus. Well, let me know when you want to come down and I'll give you a personal tour.